Hello everyone, Manthroll here, and welcome to a little bit of a review on the mining and smithing rework. Now, I know this is a little dated, but there are some things that I actually wanted to talk about when it comes to the mining and smithing rework, because this was a huge update, which hugely impacted the RS community. I know some people will say, well, it's not really that big of an impact, I don't really care about mining and smithing, but it's not so much just the skill of mining and smithing, it's what it impacted, how it impacted the game, and what it changes for those skills. Now, of course, as we all know, a lot of minigames now, well, a lot of skills are affected by minigames. You can go and you can actually get XP for a minigame that fashion now. Matter of fact, most if not all skills can be impacted by minigames. So, or they have their own distraction or diversions, or their own little concepts like runes. Rune crafting has Runespan, or you have the Rune Abyss. You know, you have all these different types of aspects for a lot of skilling. However, skills are being impacted more and more now, which is actually a fantastic thing. They're starting to take away from the fact that combat pretty much monopolizes money and money making. Now, the one nice thing about this is that it seems like the actual commerce of what you buy and sell as far as equipment goes is not heavily impacted. So the stuff that was already out and already going on, yes, it was impacted. That, yeah, no, there's nothing about that, but it is actually kind of beneficial this way, because now you got more money coming into the game, because now people who do enjoy mining and smithing, they are making actual profitable income from that skill. They can actually make money doing mining and smithing. Now, you can do it either way, because any level can actually benefit from mining and smithing now too. You could be mining bronze and bronze only, and you will actually be able to make money. And the reason being is because of the Masterworks. Because Masterwork is affected all the way from level 1 all the way up, because it takes all the ores. So, that being said, they found a way to make everything useful within the game. Now, that doesn't mean bronze armor isn't necessarily useful, but the copper and tin is now useful. Bronze is useful. Now, if they could find a way to actually take this one step up yet, where, let's say you make it, let's say you're a lower level and you're making this stuff. Let's say they find a way where you can actually take it to one of these, like an anvil or something, and actually like disassemble it. Now, I know there is stuff like Invention where you're all around disassembly, but by deconstructing it, you also get some smithing XP that way, and you don't really get maybe anything in return up until later on, because you don't want to have too many items being recycled back into the game. Because if you keep the resources too high, then it's going to impact everything else, and then it's just going to kill the whole reason behind it. But I digress. So the skill in a whole has changed a lot, because now mining is imperative to, and only to, certain things, like mini games obviously, but mostly just mining. You're going to get your biggest and most benefit from just mining, and that means you got the ore, you got the XP. The XP rates are actually good. It's actually really, really well balanced. I know some people might hate it, but it's really well balanced. And smithing, on the other hand, now you can actually make good money from it, or no money. It's all up to you, but you can make good money off of it. Now, I know maybe some people who've been away for a little while, including myself, would be like, well, how do you make no money from smithing? I mean, no money. Well, there is one way. The one way that I know of, or unless you give it away, is if you go through all the tiers. You know, you keep upgrading each piece until you can make the burial armor, whichever tier that might be for that type of metal. And then once you make the full burial set, then, well, you can make the individual pieces burial, but you can make the whole set, which will give you a lot more XP. But once you do that, it's an artisan workshop. It just goes straight into the, you know, your respect within the artisan's workshop, which the respect system has been worked out much better. It actually increases at a sizable amount where you actually feel like you're making progress. Before, when I was doing that, I did not feel like I was hardly making any progress at all. I could make 20 things and get like no respect out of it, maybe 1% if I was lucky, but it felt like you were getting nowhere fast with it. It didn't matter what I made, it just felt like I was getting nowhere fast. And now it actually feels like I'm getting somewhere. I actually feel like I'm accomplishing stuff. But overall, how this could impact skills in the future, imagine, if you will, stuff stops dropping food, you know, certain types of food. Now, I know there's certain drops that are actually kind of beneficial, and that's stuff like, you know, if you're fighting, let's say, abyssal demons, maybe not at a higher level, it might not affect you, but if you're a lower level, or maybe you're an Iron Man and, you know, you're acquiring your gear on your own, and it's taking you a little bit longer, you know, you might have a little bit weaker of a defense than you would like. So, you know, maybe the occasional shark drop is actually very beneficial. You know, it helps you actually stay on your Slayer assignment longer. You know, the occasional cooked fish here and there, that's not too bad. But if they were to take that away, I will say this, that would definitely impact the need of people fishing and cooking. Because if they take that away, then you either have to fish for yourself, you have to cook it yourself, or you have to do both yourself, or you have to buy it all. So it's one of those things where if they would do that kind of stuff, it could impact all skills. They could be taking this as, you know, an example. Hey, you know, this is what happened. This is actually having a huge impact on our game. Now, should we incorporate this in other skills? Now, I use fishing as an example. Probably not the best example, because fishing is one of those skills that seems to always have a demand for its products. So, pretty much no matter what, people are always going to be wanting fish. Because, well, it's how you heal. And there's a lot of combat. There's a lot of higher end combat than there used to be. So people are always going to be wanting it. It's not something that's going to go away or fade within time. People are always going to need it and want it. But this could heavily impact skills like that. Fletching is soon getting a big update, which is the incense burners, which that is actually going to be very huge. It's going to be adding stuff like herblore into fletching, which is going to be very interesting. Oh, well, that's not even just fletching. That's also fire making too. I forgot. It affects a bunch of skills there, which is also going to affect your wood cutting. Because if you are an Iron Man, you're going to want to go out and you're going to want to wood cut yourself. So these kind of things are going to affect the prices of the other parts too now. This is what I like. RuneScape has finally taken to the point where they're like, okay, our combat has a shit ton of stuff they can do. Let's start giving into skills and revamping them, making them useful and promising. Now, the only thing is, when it comes to releasing these new things, and I feel like with mining and smithing, they did a very good job. You have a steady flow of XP but you have a low amount of stuff actually produced, which is very good, for especially for a skill like that. You don't want a lot of items coming into the game, because then there's no point. Just like whenever they release the incense burners, if they have too many of those flowing in, or if they have too long of a durability, they last too long, the effects last too long, and people are accumulating a vast amount of these things and not being able to use them as fast as they make them, it's going to be dead content. So there has to be a way that there has a very good incentive to get these, but also a good long-term case of keeping them in the game and keeping them viable and useful. But I know this was kind of like a mining and smithing review a little bit, but it was mostly about the whole aspect of the impact on skills. That's what I really, really wanted to actually talk about. Because the whole skill release by now, I missed the date on that. It's a very good, very solid release, if you ask me. But the whole concept of down the road, how this could be impacting future skills, current skills, etc., it's actually a lot bigger than what some people might imagine. But that'll do it for this video, so thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, later guys.